Always Irish. Yeah. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. What are you doing? Don't do this to me, Harry! The Ohio State. It's Ohio State! What do you mean, the? It's a poison! I almost stroked out and died over it. I'm glad to be at the party. I'm mad we're this late. You ain't a captain of nothing but a sinking ship! That helps the defense without them even doing a damn thing! Doing a damn thing! The call-in line. 312-988-15. You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. No Irish. No Irish. No Irish. No Irish. Irish. Yeah, that's right. No Irish. No Irish. No Irish. No Irish. Irish. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Welcome in. Welcome back, everybody. Good morning. Happy to have you here. We're in the middle of the big chill. Like, I don't know what to say, man. It's just like life comes to a grinding halt when it's this cold. Like, literally, everything just works slower. Like your garage door, like half my hours now are like, if I open the garage door one more time, is it going to bust off the hinges? Like things don't even work. It's been so cold. I hope everybody's safe. I hope everybody's warm. We're in a lull. Nick, good morning to you, sir. What do you guys not have school anymore for the whole month? How are you available lately? It's just we're in a lull, and we're in this reflective period between now and spring ball where there ain't much action. There's not much going on. People are taking a deep breath, getting out of this season. A lot of people are still struggling with what happened to end the season. And it's just kind of this soft spot in the schedule. When we get, I'm telling you this, when we get into spring ball, oh, baby, there is intrigue galore with spring ball. With the younger guys we have, with the quarterback situation, there's going to be a lot to monitor. But I like the comfortable window of time we have now to sit back and think about things and to sit back and analyze things, where we were and what went right and wrong this year, and then moving forward into spring ball. That's healthy. And I appreciate those times. In the season, things move so fast because it's just one week into the next and it's game day and then there's news throughout the week. Occasionally, you have a bye week and a little more time to decompress and process things. This is healthy. You need these kind of periods to step back, zoom out without everything being minute-to-minute news and really look at where your team is at, how they got there, where they want to go. And I have some stuff to go over today, and it surprises me that I'm even going to go down this path today. But it's really what I think. It's really what I feel. So I'm going to go over a couple things with you and throw it at you and see if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you think I'm just being Johnny Sunshine or you don't think I go far enough. I would love to know what you guys think. So phone calls, feel free. Again, between now and spring ball, I don't care what my specific topic angle is of the day or whatever. I don't care. You got Notre Dame thoughts, college football thoughts, dial it up, call it in. It doesn't have to be on my topic. We got a big window here. Wherever your Notre Dame brain goes, we'll put it on the show. So feel free to do that. So let's get into it. Let's get the introductions done. We got some donations to go over. I appreciate you guys taking care of the phone lines. We'll go over that, some interesting chats, see what the callers have, and get into my little project here I did over last weekend. So obviously, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. It's cold. You could do a lot of other things for your entertainment. Thank you. If you have not subscribed on YouTube, please do so. Helps me. Give me a thumbs up as well. That helps Johnny out. Notifications on it where you're alerted every time a new episode drops. I know you don't want to miss it. Twitter, search bar Always Irish, at Always Irish Inc. Emails alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only, anywhere you want it, you can get it. If you don't want to see my face, I don't blame you. Get it on the audio only. Call in lines, you know them, 312-900-8815. You dial it up, tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Adam Dowling, what's going on? Good morning to you, sir. Instagram, Facebook, Eric, good morning to you too. He's laying down the law. Eric is an extension of the law in Michigan. Interesting place to be practicing law. I don't even want to get into the Michigan thing, although there's parts of it we can't ignore. We got it. That's on my list of things to go over too. So Instagram, Facebook, Always Irish, USA Today, Fighting Irish Wire. Read all about it. We got stuff for you every day. Doesn't matter. It's just like my YouTube. Doesn't matter if it's the off season. Content's king. There's always something cooking over there. Check it out. Patreon.com/alwaysirish. Former captain, leading tackler, by the way. That's key point to me, Mike Goolsby. What could go wrong behind a paywall where you don't have to edit or censor yourself? A lot could go wrong. I call it going right. So thank you for everybody that's been over there already. We do appreciate it. Willie, yeah, it's a struggle, man. Dr. John, I see you. I'll come right to you after I get these chats in. Willie B. Hardigan, personal problem, can't answer that. However, knowing how happy the entire state of Michigan is with Michigan and the Lions makes me sick. I got to tell you, Willie, the amount of minutes I spent pondering this occurrence, it's enough to put me in a mental institution. It really is. When I look at that fan base, and when I look at that disingenuous media contingent they have, I just can't imagine a less deserving group of people to have this kind of joy in college and pro football. It's literally like I've lost sleep over it. I can't make it make sense how a group of people that are so classless and just so oblivious to how to treat people on the fan side, and then the media side, just it's the most unprofessional media beat I've ever seen. You want to talk about it like state-run propaganda with governments where like there's no free media, everything has to go through the government before it gets out, and they have to review everything. That's what this is. It's totally state-run propaganda, carrying water, like everything for them. And it's all coming up aces. It's all coming up aces. Now, I will say this, and Nick's mentioning it. It's good to see the Notre Dame players on the Lions do well. Here's the other thing. I'm all in on Dan Campbell. I love the way the Lions play. I mean, I'm in Bears territory. I love the way the Lions play for that guy. He is the most meatheady, football Neanderthal guy ever. But you know what? It's not an act with him. That's why it works. He's the most football guy ever. But he is not a phony. It is real. He loves football. He takes it that seriously. There's not a lot of coaches that I could tolerate crying after a loss, saying how much it meant to him and everything. Like, on the surface, you would be like, the head coach of an NFL team should not be crying on the podium after a regular season game. Get a grip. You're the leader. With him, it made me love him more. It made me love him more. Earlier in the year or maybe it was last year when they were struggling before they turned it on and they were losing by like a point every game but couldn't get over the hump and the guy was crying. Normally, I'd be like, get it together. You're the leader. Like, you can't have that weakness showing. Dude, I loved it because it wasn't fake. It was really him. It just matters to him that much to win these games. And like, then you get the buy-in from the team. And now you have guys that will run through a brick wall for Dan Campbell. They will lay in the road and get ran over for their leader. I love it. And so I didn't mind that at all. Here's the other one. Even as a Chicago area guy, I liked the Lions thing because I like Campbell just being so football-y and genuine about it. You know how I look at it, Campbell? He's almost like an extension of a kid where there's no angling, like there's no manipulation and angling and positioning. Like he's like almost too genuine. You just get what you're going to get. And there's no angle to it. It's almost like a throwback in a way, like a more innocent minded, simple minded guy with, it's just like, let's go win football game. For whatever reason, it works for me. It works for me. Because those guys love playing for Campbell, and I respect that. Also, the Green Bay thing is very interesting to me. Yeah, Jordan Love. People were like, I think he's a bust. This isn't going to work out. He's looking rough. And then he had like a perfect quarterback rating and played almost perfect in a hostile environment against a team that hasn't lost at home in 2 years. That's impressive. That's impressive. When you look at that quarterback lineage and what this guy has to backfill after the last two guys, it's really impressive. Those are big shoes to fill. And the other thing that impresses me with what the Packers are doing is, and I know this is NFC North heavy, but that's where the Bears are. That's where I spend most of my time, right? They're the youngest team in the league. Those are all babies. Those are the youngest. It's the youngest team in the league. And I honestly think that helped them going into the hostile road environment for the round one playoff game. One of those things of like, we're too young to even worry about this moment and realize what it is. And we're just going to go play our game. And they beat the hell out of them. They beat the hell out of them. So good job. I'm rooting for the two NFC North teams. Like I said it before, I never miss a Bears game or a Bears press conference. I never miss any of it, but it ain't emotional to me. So seeing what the Lions are doing and how they're building and seeing how the Packers are restocking and doing all their thing is very interesting to me. And Bears got some big choices out of them. And so if they're going to take Caleb Williams, who just declared, okay, physically, I totally get it. But there's something in the back of my mind that gives me hesitation with him. I don't know what it is. I think I do know what it is, actually. He's a front runner. That's what gives me hesitation. When things go good in the big lights of LA, he's all about it. And when something goes bad, he shuts it down. Doesn't talk to the media, pouts. Instead of being with his teammates, he's hugging mommy and daddy in the first row. I can't believe we lost the game and I'm not perfect. So I'm sorry, there's something there. If it all went great from the beginning, it'll be great. I want to know what happens when you're on a 3-game losing streak and he's not playing great or not getting good protection or whatever. What does that look like if you're in the NFL in the Chicago market? I'm just telling you, physically, there's nothing I could say against it. There's just something in the personality makeup that makes me nervous. And I'm trying to separate my Notre Dame fanhood from analyzing that situation. Like when you listen to it on Chicago sports radio, they're not talking about it from a college football angle. They're talking about it from an NFL angle, a scouting angle, a GM, a roster building in the NFL angle. None of it's college at all. So it's easy for me to kind of jump over because none of the talking points are the same when you're looking at it from a pro perspective. Separate how I feel about USC from this. And I'm telling you, physically love it. There's something there I don't trust. There's just something there I don't trust. And it bothers me because he's such a talent. I'm worried if it goes sideways a little bit. How does that go in the Chicago media? It could unravel so quick. He's not going to get coddled like he was in LA. It ain't going to happen. The coach isn't going to go, you lost the game. It's okay. You don't have to talk to the media. Like, go. No. So, I don't know. Interesting stuff. Also, while we're getting into that, Harbaugh interviewed with the Falcons, I believe, yesterday, interviewed with the Chargers. It looks like he's trying to get out of Dodge. The Michigan thing's going to just bother me forever. They're so disingenuous. Harbaugh said, we're in the clear. We didn't do anything wrong. Everything's above board. Everything's fine. We're not getting in trouble. We did nothing wrong, blah, 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 blah. 1 week later, he's saying to Michigan, if I'm even going to consider returning to Michigan, I need in that next contract a clause that says whatever the NCAA infractions committee comes back with, I am absolved from all responsibility. You can't fire me. You can't suspend me. You must get up there and protect me and say I did nothing wrong. Those make no sense. Those two statements make no sense. If you had nothing to hide and weren't scared of anything and you did everything's above board, then you would not put this language in that contract. Again, I don't appreciate being put in a situation where I'm getting gaslit for bringing up all the different ways they did wrong things and they're lying and covering it up and acting like it didn't exist. I don't appreciate being the one that has to be like a tattletale, like, oh, this doesn't make sense. You guys are contradicting yourself. You're making up stuff. No one likes a whiner. No one likes a whiner, but I cannot let this all go without mentioning how clearly disingenuous every bit of it is. Every next step. But it doesn't matter because the Michigan man mentality. They want it on the field. Nothing's ever going to change that for those people. No matter what the NCAA rules or anything, it's never going to change it for all those people who date their siblings. They're never gonna accept it. It's a brain defect. It's Michigan football brain disorder. This is all part of it. MFBD. So I hate everything about it. Here's the interesting part. Remember when I went to Florida for Christmas and I was talking about the New Orleans LSU beat reporter that has the radio show on ESPN saying he was hearing if Harbaugh, this was the week of Christmas, he was saying, I'm hearing that if Harbaugh goes to the league, Kelly's really interested in the Michigan job. Okay. Now, at the time, the last week of December, I did not hear anybody else writing about this, speaking about this, whatever. It was one guy who had a radio show in ESPN New Orleans. But I didn't see it anywhere else on Twitter. I wasn't hearing any more podcasts about it, none of that stuff. And I started thinking, that's weird. And it's only coming from one guy. That's weird. And it's also coming from an LSU beat guy. That changes things for me right away. That isn't coming from a guy like me trying to stir the pot or anybody with an angle to try and hurt the way LSU looks in recruiting because your guy might be gone. No. This came from a pro LSU outlet the week of Christmas. And I thought that was curious. Why would Kelly be interested in leaving when he has a 10-year deal with all this money and talent everywhere? Like, why does he need leverage in his situation? Then that all died down. We got through the new year. We got through all this. Things calmed down. And now all those articles are out again from more NFL-type people that report on the NFL. These are not random accounts on Twitter. These are people that are connected. And they keep saying Kelly's interested. And again, I don't understand if this is just for leverage. What leverage does Kelly need? He got a 10-year deal worth $100 million, $95 million bucks. What other leverage do you need? That's the part I don't understand. I understand the games these guys play with leverage in your next contract to getting an extension or whatever. But if you're Brian Kelly, I don't understand what other leverage you need other than to feed your ego. I can't understand Why? You need that. But here we are. So you want to talk about me losing my mind with what already happened with Michigan? Brian Kelly in Michigan would just be nonstop for me. You would have the LSU people would be upset and mad. And then here's the best part. If this happened, the LSU people would be furious at Kelly for leaving them out of nowhere, right? And then they would be miserable and mad. And then they would have to choose to either agree with Notre Dame fans and not like Kelly or act like they're not that mad because they don't. Their whole thing is they never want to say Notre Dame fans were right about anything with Kelly we warned them about. If he ups and leaves for Michigan out of nowhere, they're in the position where they're going to have to be mad at him and agree with us. They're not going to want to. And then from what I've seen on Twitter, the Michigan people are not big fans of Brian Kelly. And I understand. Not a big fan of Brian Kelly, and I understand. Pat, here's the issue with that. The next part of this is, if I'm Michigan and I end up in this situation and Harbaugh takes one of these pro jobs, is not the easiest thing to do to just give the job to Sherrone Moore. Sure, I mean, you could argue Sherrone Moore pantsed Ryan Day in the biggest game of the year in America. He literally coached circles around Ryan Day, and every card Sherrone Moore pulled hit. He coached totally unfazed. He coached unscared. He coached to win. He coached aggressively. He coached the way you want your coach of your favorite team to coach in the biggest damn game of the year. Flopping them out on the table and going, we're either going to win it or lose it, but we're going to try and win this game. Everything he pulled out worked. He coached circles around Ryan Day. You could do that. Here's the issue, though. When I see people on Twitter asking, why even go look at a Brian Kelly or do all that when you have Sherrone Moore and that's already proven or whatever that he could do that? Go ahead. You got to think about this. Is there a scenario where Michigan is concerned about what is going to come back from the NCAA to the point where they may have to remove more coaches that were already there when the alleged bad acts took place? That's the thing here. That's the part of this where they don't want to be in a position where they go with somebody already on the staff and then they get some information back and it's like a show clause forced thing. Then that's going to blow all that up. That is the only reason I'm thinking they may be entertaining somebody on the outside, is if they had worries they're going to have to do something with the new plan when they get that information back. I don't know. I don't know. I don't get it. When you're Kelly and you have the contract you have, I don't think you need leverage. There's nothing to leverage. You're making a ton of money at a talent-rich place where resources are no problem and they want you to win. And they're all in on helping you win. So I don't know. Let's do a couple super chats and then we'll get to the calls. And then I'll go over some of the things on my bullet list. $5 holler. Dr. John going to be the first up. $5 holler Ryan Elliott. Don't really have anything this morning except I ate Michigan. That I will always have. Ryan, I'm with you. I'm with you. It never ends. They gaslight you more than any politician ever could. Like it is in your face almost, the extent of like, we're going to do whatever we want and then we're going to frame it and manipulate it however we want and we're going to win and it just doesn't matter. It all rubs me the wrong way and I ate it. Oh, $5 holler from Andrew. The college girlfriend story was a classic. Very something about Mary. I'm telling you guys, I got stories, man. Maybe once a week, I just need to drop a dumb story I'm involved in. Just weird things follow me everywhere. I got so many stories that are just would never happen to anybody other than John. You know what I'm saying? Like, my personality's a magnet or something. Like, there's so many dumb, awkward things I found myself in that could only happen to John. And you know the way I react to everything. It's just, there's a lot more where that came from. Look at this creativity from the good doc. $10, 20 a holler. Celebrating 10.2K subscribers. Onward and upward, and go always Irish. Dr. John, I appreciate that. It's the name of the game is, you want to wake up each day and have more subscribers than you did the day before. That tells you you're doing something right that people like. The whole idea is to just grow. And it does get hard in the offseason. People check out. There are so many Notre Dame fans that just message me at the end of the year. John, I love this show. Love Notre Dame. I'll be back late August. See ya. They just go live their life. It's a beautiful thing for those people. I think they're a lot healthier than I am. They go, I'm going to live my life. And then the week before the season starts, I'll be back. And they just check out, give themselves a little break. I get it. I understand it. Andrew, one thing I think we all appreciate about Denbrock is how secure he is as a play caller. Under Parker, they had this obsession with establishing the wide receiver. They didn't establish diddly poo. Okay? The only thing established was a running back that was already good. It's just, it was very frustrating. I think you could pinpoint 2 losses based on trying to force the ball to wide receivers versus building the passing game around the tight end. The most glaring example is Louisville. My biggest thing is this is really not Notre Dame. Follow me here. One of the most important things to me with momentum this offseason is you turned what I was most worried about, that offense, the game planning, the play calling, the sequencing, the pivot when you try something and it doesn't work. Where do you go? What's your answer? All that in-game chess, the game planning outside of games, all of it. To me, entering next year, that was going to be the weakest part of the operation. The anchor that was weighing down a lot of the good things in this program and the defense and all that. That was my worry, that part of the operation was going to hold everything down. You flip that into a net positive right away with this hire. I do not have those worries. The offense is going to be better. It's going to be schemed better. It's going to flow better. It's going to have better feel. It's going to have better rhythm. It should have some answers when things don't go well. This is a different ball game. That's why you hire a guy with this amount of experience. So to me, I cannot measure how excited I was when this happened. You literally turned my biggest fear into something I now automatically feel good about and trust. And I think it's going to be in capable professional hands. And I just couldn't say that about Parker. You could feel the struggle, you guys. You could feel that guy grasping for straws. You know, a good play caller is thinking of play 2, 3, 4, 5 in a sequence. You following me? You got to have that brain that's thinking ahead. I'm going to run this, then I'm going to run that, then I'm going to run this because I'm setting them up for this. And they all string together. How are you going to do what you want to happen to lead into the next thing and do this and that, and then you got them. I don't believe Parker was capable of thinking at that level because he was too overwhelmed with trying to draw up one play that could work. And I don't mean it as an insult. He was learning on the fly, trying to do under all this pressure. But I can't have that in Notre Dame. That guy was struggling to draw up one play. Forget about setting a sequence up. It just wasn't polished enough. And everybody saw it. Thank God for Troy. Thank God for Troy. I'm telling you, man, that got us out of a lot of awkward. So thank God for that. And I know 39 a game or whatever, but I got to ask you, this is Notre Dame. Is it good enough for you to just beat up the bad teams and then have no offense against the good ones we play? Like, if you want to argue 39 a game, top 10 offense, John, and you're saying the guy's terrible, I'm just asking you. I'm begging you, raise your expectations of Notre Dame, because they should be higher than, oh, we score 80 points against Central and then can't do diddly poo against Clemson. Like, and that's good enough. No. So I'm glad we're out of that. What else do I got? C. Jones, Mike Jones. Who? I'm very confident Denbrock will develop an effective offensive scheme based on the talent roster he inherits this year. His track record proves it. C. Jones, that's exactly it. And therefore, you turned my biggest weakness on the team overall into something I have confidence in and I feel better about overnight. It's beautiful. You're on it, brother. Denbrock will make a huge difference. Andrew, brother, you're on it. He'll make a big difference, especially in the run threat of Riley. It's night and day. What's taken so long with Al Golden and John? Any scoop? I have no scoop, but I have not heard any rumors that he's looking at the NFL or anything either. So I don't know what to tell you there. I will say this, though. It's dangerous to have a great coordinator and you're sitting there being like, oh, we expect him to sign this extension or whatever. No big deal. Let's just kick back and relax. You know who thought that? LSU thought that about a few weeks ago. And look where that got them. It got Denbrock into Notre Dame. So everything I've heard is on track. Everybody's expecting that to be a done deal with him in Notre Dame. I've not seen or heard any rumors to the contrary, but I've not seen anything saying otherwise. Dr. John, I promise I'm getting to you. I always talk too much when I get into these. Eric, my lawyer in Michigan. I'm a bit surprised Lions' new head coach is doing so well. He seems like a jock, not a brain surgeon. I know. And I kind of like it. It's kind of an old school flair, and it only works if it's genuine. That's the biggest thing here with Dan Campbell. His football-y Neanderthal thing only works if it's so genuine and pure. Otherwise, you're going to get the whole he's a meathead thing, just wants to be a tough guy. This angle the Lions are working only works with complete buy-in on that messaging. And it looks like they're getting it because I'll be damned, those guys play hard as hell. But it was last year where the Lions lost a bunch of those close games at the end. The guy was in tears about how much winning means to him and how upset he was for how hard his guys work and they couldn't get it done. Last year, I started being like, you know what, man? This is not a cry of like, feel bad for us, feel bad for me. This guy's genuinely crushed that they lost a football game. And you know what? I love somebody that cares that damn much. And you know what? That brings me up on something else that's made me mad my whole life too. Well, we may as well do this. Dr. John, sorry, you're going to have to wait another minute. We may as well do this then too. While we're on this. You know what always pisses me off? A lot of things. When you have a pro team that fails, and then in the post-game show, the media asks or whatever, what's the reaction or how do we feel or whatever, that, the fans are distraught. And these players and coaches say, nobody feels worse about the loss than the guys in this locker room. No, we feel worse than the fans do. Trust me. I don't think you do. I really don't think you do. You follow me here. Maybe I'm wrong, thinking of this wrong. You got Joe Blow, poor as shit, barely able to pay his bills with a wife and a couple rat kids, and he's working some manual labor job 80 hours a week in the cold or whatever just to make enough money to get by. And all he wants to do is watch his football team win to give him a little tiny break from the harsh realities of day-to-day life. And then the football team's terrible. And then that guy's miserable. And he's paycheck to paycheck with all these life stresses. And he doesn't even have the one little escape sports could provide him for 4 hours of Saturday or Sunday to leave all that shit out and just like be in a different place for a while. Trust me, that loss is sitting with that guy a lot more than the guy that's making $80 million a year or whatever. I'm sorry, it isn't the same. Regular people struggling to just live go to this stuff as a little escape from the harsh realities of the real world. For their team to give them some joy. And then when you blow it, I'm like, all these millionaires that are comfortable whether they win or lose care more than that guy? I don't think so. They're all rich no matter what. No matter what the game ends like in the season, it's like all those people, the baseline of their life is taken care of. They have money. So I don't think they feel worse. They feel comfortable. So that's always bothered me. But what do I know? Andrew, on defense, I would like to see it improve sacking the quarterback, especially with natural rush instead of blitzing. We get away with blitzing because of lockdown corners. Is that sustainable? On my list of like dream things Notre Dame needs to round out this roster, monster guys getting after the quarterback are on the list. I need 2 of them, one on each side. And I think that is an area they got to get better at. I'm right there with you. Angela, what's going on? Always good to have a Rudiger here. The road tape, $5 hour. Just back from rocking my Always Irish merch in South Florida for 2 weeks. Your channel brand was recognized by someone at Disney? No way. Really? That's surprising to me, especially down there. The last time I was in Disney is when I had that interaction with the LSU family. V1. Number 1 is thank you for rocking it. Number 2 is if we got Always Irish people that far spread out in Florida that find each other, that's good for the brand recognition. I appreciate it. But I got scar tissue because the last time I was at Disney rocking my Always Irish stuff, I scared the hell out of that LSU family. I still don't understand what was wrong with those people. I still don't understand what was wrong with those people. You roll in 12 deep, everybody wearing head-to-toe LSU football gear, every single person, the babies, the kids, the wives, the husbands, and the grandparents. Everybody was head-to-toe LSU. One guy at a bar walks by and mentions, how do you like Kelly? I'm a Notre Dame guy. How do you like your new guy? They acted like I was an alien threatening their existence. They acted like I was trying to abduct their children and run into Disney and never to be seen again with their kids. I scared the shit out of them. And I promise you guys, I didn't do anything. I was just casually walking by. Oh, I'm a Notre Dame guy, and I'm just wondering what you think of Kelly. The looks of horror. They're covering the kids. The wives are hiding the kids from me. What the hell? I don't understand. I'm like, what did I do? I asked my brother and my dad when I went back. I said, did you see how they freaked out? I said, was I that scary? And I think my brother was like, man, maybe you're more scary to people that aren't used to you. My brother really started to think about it. He's drinking that beer, looking out on the water at Disney, and he goes, maybe we're just all used to you, and maybe you're a lot scarier the first time, and you just, and it dropped on those people. I don't know. Dr. John, what's going on, buddy?
Well, not a lot. I'm back here in Big Sky Country.
Dr. John.
We're going to send you some warm weather. We're going to be 44 on the weekend.
Now you're talking. That's put on your shorts with no shirt around here material, man. Where have you been, Dr. John? Where have you been? I feel like you've been on the move all of these weeks of the new year. Where have you been?
Well, I went I rode to Minnesota for Christmas with my daughter that lives next door and her guy. And then I got back here, I guess, on the 31st or 30th, and then flew to Arizona on the 3rd to be with my two brothers. My middle brother is going to celebrate his 80th birthday in a couple days, and we celebrated it down there. My youngest brother just moved there from Florida, so
Man, well,
so that's and then I spent an extra week down there with a buddy who used to be a Montanan, but he's in Idaho, but is in a RV camp down there for most of the winter. So
man,
that's
good
where I've
for
been.
you though. Hey, the cold weather doesn't slow you down. Like a lot of people just quit, what they're doing and stay in one. You're always on the move, Dr. John. You live an exciting life, and it's great to follow. Dr. John, we're in a lull here. We're in a little down period, after the season, but before spring ball. And I would just love to hear what you're thinking about in Notre Dame land. Does the Michigan winning thing affect you in one way or the other, or inform you of any way of anything? And I want to know, Nick, you're going to kill me on that. Unbelievable, Nick. Sorry, he just chatted something funny. But I'd love to know.
The Michigan.
Yeah, go ahead. We got to catch up here because we're into the new year. We haven't touched base like we normally have. I'd love for you to give us kind of the estimate.
It's been about 4 weeks, I think. So.
Yeah, you need to update us.
Anyway, before I go into that, you just finished your story about the LSU fans in Florida. I think where you screwed up, if you'd affected a little Cajun accent, they might have accepted you right away.
I'm telling you, man, John, I was so pleasant, and I was just walking by to go to the bathroom by their table, casually, pleasantly said, I'm from Chicago. I'm a Notre Dame guy. I'm really interested to know what you think of Kelly after a year. Like, I couldn't have been more pleasant, and they looked at me with pure horror, like I was assaulting them. It made no sense. I don't understand, Dr. John. You don't bring a herd of 12 people dressed head to toe repping a football team and then act surprised when somebody talks to you about it in a vacation area where there's a mixture of everybody. You don't get to do that.
Well, I have gone up to people too in places, airports and stuff, and got a much better reception. So I don't know. Maybe when I see you at the tailgate party, we can practice your social skills a little bit.
Yeah, but you know what? You have like unassuming grandfather vibes. I have like insane leprechaun vibes. I think we're giving off two different vibes here, Doctor. They're like, oh, look at this nice, classy elder gentleman, and then I probably look like the leprechaun from those movies in the 90s, like a little troll going after the little kids. You know what I mean? Maybe that's the difference.
Yeah, you look. Maybe they thought you were a thin Chucky.
Yeah, exactly. But geez, I mean, I like to think I'm pretty damn good socially. I'm very outgoing. I don't know, man. They didn't like me, and the women were scared for their children.
No.
So, it happens. And here's the other thing too. People have asked, how many beers did you have, John? Are you sure you weren't being a little different than you're interpreting it? It was like noon. I had like one beer. So that was not a factor of like me not knowing what level I was at. I was like one beer deep for lunch. Like, give me a break. That was not a factor. I'm going to back myself up on that.
Well, I don't know if you listen to Angela and Connor at all. Maybe you just have some brain damage you're not aware of.
I don't know. We'll see. I don't know, man.
Anyway.
Get into the Michigan thing. You didn't do your Michigan part. I interrupted you. You want to finish your Michigan thought?
Yeah. Yeah, I threw up a lot. That's enough.
Yeah, it's rough. It was
it.
A worst case.
That's the only thought I had.
It was a worst case scenario for me. I'm struggling with it.
I got to deal with something I chatted on Monday. being old and senile, I guess, I looked at, I Googled Big Ten schedules, and they got a beautiful graph. And they got all the schedules there for everybody. So I saw a lot of open dates on Notre Dame's open dates. And I mentioned 5 teams that Notre Dame could play. Well, the problem was that schedule didn't have any of their non-conference teams. So they don't have any open dates. They can't play more than 12 games. So anyway, I got to get that stupidity out of the way.
Yeah. And
that done.
I don't know what Notre Dame's going to do. They still have that 12th game. Notre Dame still has that 12th game. And it was going to be Army at Yankee Stadium, but then Army's having an issue with the contract because they changed conferences or something. People are asking what's going to happen with that 12th game. I don't know, but don't worry about it because it's not going to be a big brand name team. That's not what that slot's going to be. So you're not going to not play Navy or Army and then put in Georgia. That's not on the table. So I'm not worried about it because it's going to be a lower level team no matter what they do.
Yeah, but the only team they could schedule would be Hawaii.
There you go. Yeah.
I say that because I didn't realize this, but if you play Hawaii, you can play 13 games.
Why is that?
You know that?
Why?
I think it's to encourage, teams to go ahead and schedule them so they'll take the expense of going over to the islands.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah, Google that when you get a chance. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that is interesting. And you know what else, Dr. John? You came up on one of my other shows the other day, and I thought of you because it was mean, kind of. But I kind of said, I don't care how much Dr. John and 40,000 other people liked going to Dublin. I'm about done with that because it ended up dragging down the whole rest of the year. That is the reason we had 8 games in a row with no bye and everything got thrown off for the year and all that is because of that damn Dublin. I'm about done with it. It threw everything off, man. I know you had fun, but it threw the timing of the whole season off.
Well, I would argue that with you over a beer, but not over the phone.
That's fine. But you got to admit, that is the reason we had 8 weeks in a row with no bye and the team was running around with fumes and exhaust because it was too much to ask 8 weeks in a row with no break. I wanted all you guys to have fun, but not at the expense of the rest of the year or losing a game. I don't value fun that much. Winning is fun, and fun is winning. Winning is fun, fun is winning. Ozzie Guillen. Go ahead.
You brought this up sometime during the season, and I went back and I checked some schedules where we had played more than that in a row. But, of course, you just blew that off. You don't value your elders' wisdom, do you?
I do. That's why you're my guy. That's why you're the resident doctor of the show. We defer to you. That's why you have this position in this fan base, okay?
Anyway, we have had seasons where we played more weeks in a row without a break than this past season. So that's the only evidence I can give you.
I mean, I just think if you can avoid
that you're full of it.
I just think if you can avoid it, you avoid it at all costs. It's a bad idea. I'm never giving up I'll give up an away game to go somewhere. I especially don't give up a home game to do it. So, Dr. John.
Well,
yeah.
Well, before I let you go, I got to say then this season ought to be great with 3 open dates, right?
I think things are spread out a lot more.
And a fluffy schedule.
Yeah, I think things are spread out a lot more. I think things are spread out a lot more favorable this year. I'm just saying, here's all I'm saying, you guys. I get the novelty of Ireland and our connection, all that. I love all that. Everybody drinking 40,000. I love all that. I'm just saying I'm never going to make life harder for my own team than I think it has to be. And all that travel does that. That's my only None of you guys can argue that's a crazy idea to me when I just say I'm never going to make life harder for my team than I have to make it. That's all.
All right. I can accept that. One more thing and I'll turn you loose. I mentioned on chat on Monday that my youngest daughter's family got stranded in Chicago Sunday night.
Yeah, that sounds bad.
My grandson got on local Chicago TV.
Doing
he was
what?
Interviewed at
Was
O'Hare.
I was gonna say, is he one of those poor people where they're like, "How long you been here and how much you hate your life?" And then he says, "Yeah, I've been here 8 days and everything sucks. Get me the hell out of here."
He was upset because they wouldn't let him get his bag, and so they finally got out of there on Monday morning. Got to Miami, then got to Key West. His bag was not arrived yet. It was still in Miami.
Oh, no.
So, yeah. But if you're in Key West, what do you need? A T-shirt, swimming trunks, and flip-flops.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
And
And your wallet for some beer money. That's about all you need. Yeah, that's a good point. Although,
well, no. He's only 18, John. You come on now.
Yeah, it's Key West.
Don't start corrupting my other grandchildren.
I didn't even think normal U.S. law applies to Key West. That place is kind of wild. It's like its own little ecosystem. You know what I mean? It's wild down there, man.
Yeah, I know. I've been there.
Well,
I've
good.
Been there.
Go. I'm sure
and
you have.
I'll tell you what, I was there for a week last February, and 4 days is all you need in Key West, let me tell you.
You know what, Dr. John? You want to create some good content? Why don't me and you hit the streets down there and we'll record everything for a few days? Yeah, think of the entertainment we could create if me and you go down there and cause some trouble and record the footage.
Oh, I love that. I would love that. I'll meet you at the Green Parrot.
Oh, my gosh. I'm scared of where that would head. So I don't know, man. It's just, it's kind of, I'll be honest with you, Dr. John. I don't mind this little lull. It's good for me. It's healthy for me. This time in between the season ending and spring ball is allowing me to decompress a little bit and start to line up my thoughts for when we get back into action here. I don't mind this little period. I think it's a healthy decompression period for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, one more thing, then go. I don't know if I kept track in chat this morning. Any word on Tommy Rees or not?
I have heard nothing finalized. There was that round on Twitter. That one night on Twitter, everybody was saying he was going to Georgia, and then I never got any follow-up. There was never any official news releases. I never heard another word about it. So I don't know if that was just somebody making that up, trying to start a rumor, but I have not heard a word about it since. He co-OC of Georgia was the tweet, and then I haven't heard a word since. Nothing.
Oh. All right. Well, we'll keep our ear to the ground, see what happens.
Yep. It's going to be really interesting.
Hey,
it's good to hear from you, man.
Yeah, good talking to you.
Yeah, stay warm. It's good to catch up.
Folks.
Oh, I will. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Say hi to the folks. But
keep up the good work, bud.
Oh, thank you. Glad to see you traveling and doing all that, Dr. John. Stay warm. Be safe. That guy lives, what did he say he was? 83, I think he said he would. He lives a more exciting life at 83 than I do at 39. Traveling everywhere, going all over the place. Jay Lehman. Good to see you, Jay. If you didn't go to Dublin, you just don't understand. I don't need to go to Dublin to understand that I value winning games more than a fun vacation. Period. That's it. Like, I know I'm a jerk. And I got all the emails and the pictures and the videos from Dublin, and everybody had fun. People from our little community here were able to meet up and hang out there and all that. Fine. I value winning games more than I value a fun vacation. It ain't about us. It's about that team winning games. So I'm always going to defer on that. And having 8 games in a row because of that Navy thing hurt the team. And I'm mad about it. I'm not blaming Dublin. I'm just saying it couldn't have helped. You needed a bye in there. And you couldn't get one, man. You couldn't get one, man. What are we talking about here? Justin Alexander. Marshall was Marcus Freeman's mulligan, and I think he learned from it. He drove that ball deep into gator-infested water trap, and I don't think he'll do it again. Marshall was just... The world was spinning a million miles a minute, right? Like, you had Freeman trying to learn it all and doing all that, and then you had and you had the injury to the quarterback. It just woof. Dude, I would have loved going to Dublin and doing that and being with all of our people and all that, but I'm never going to value me having fun over what I think helps the team win the most amount of games. That's never going to be a calculation. That I want my fun level to take precedent over what I think is best to make that team win 11 or 12 games every year. And I don't think flying 98 hours to another country is going to put you in the best position. It's just science. That's all. But I know I don't like fun, and John's a jerk. I know. I just value winning. Holt's My Beer, which is a terrific screen name, and I love the picture. Losing to Louisville made me sick, especially seeing how poorly they played against other teams at times. The Louisville situation was a combination of all of the absolute worst factors you could have leading into a road game. There was a flashing red light all off season even saying, Louisville, careful, trap game, circle it, worry about like a tricky spot, whatever. Then they kept winning. You knew this was going to be a nightmare. Like, you knew. This was not a secret. This did not sneak up on you. The team couldn't act like they didn't know this was going to be a thing. The fans were rabid. The team was playing great. It was all trending up for Louisville. It was being built into their Super Bowl. You could feel it on Twitter. This is so interesting, you guys. You can feel these vibes on Twitter of how the moment for that game's going to be. It is wild to me over all the years I've done this. You can literally measure it out. The more early in the week between two fan base, it translates into how wild the game. I'm telling you, it's science. A lot of our games, there ain't a peep, there ain't nothing, and then the game comes and there's no energy and nobody cares. Like Wake, like Stanford, no energy, nobody cared, and there was no energy and nobody cared. Louisville, all you had to do is look on Twitter that week and see what this was being built into. It couldn't have surprised anybody. You had to be expecting it in the moment. Notre Dame didn't. They weren't engaged. They weren't prepared. They didn't have a good plan. They didn't execute. They didn't match the intensity. They didn't look like they wanted to be there. It was awful. It was awful. And now there's two ways to look at this, by the way. Think about this. There's two ways to look at this. One is, hold on, let me get caught up here. There's two ways to look at this with Notre Dame's losses this year. Okay? Think about it. None of Notre Dame's 3 losses were scenarios where you're like, oh man, Notre Dame don't have the horses. They're just not going to be able to compete. This was not the great Clemson team that waxed us in the playoff. This was not either. None of the Saban teams Notre Dame got killed by, but where it was just done before it started. They have way more dudes than you do, and you're dead. It's just a matter of how dead you're going to look. No. So this is good and bad for Notre Dame fans. It's good because you didn't lose any of those 3 games because you couldn't physically line up with the other team, and that is new for Notre Dame. compared to a lot of the Kelly scenarios we found ourselves in. At least once per year, Kelly had a blowout somewhere. There's not one Kelly year at Notre Dame that didn't have a blowout. And even if they went 12-0 in the regular season, ended in a blowout loss. Every Kelly year had one humiliating blowout. Could have been in a big moment at the end, but it was still not competitive. It's different now. So it's good and bad. You're not losing games because you can't physically compete. That's a good sign you're leveling up. It's also really frustrating because I'm saying you belonged on the same field with Ohio State and had 20 different things you could have done one thing differently and win the game, and you didn't. And then you had 2 games where you appeared uninterested in competing in. And that's incredibly frustrating. So how do you look at that? We're not losing games because we're getting run off the field because we don't have the dudes. We're losing games for different reasons. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? There's a give and a take there. I'm glad we're not getting bullied on the field, but then I'm saying these are missed opportunities because you physically can play with these teams and beat them, and you're not. And those are self-inflicted wounds, different than we're just lining up with all 5 stars and they're just better than us. And it doesn't matter what we do, we're not going to beat them. We're not in that. We're not in that. So in a way, it's good, and in a way, it's awful. Yeah, Jay, God, that man. Nick, you can verify this too. Nick Shepkowski, editor, USA Today Irish Wire. Thank you for hiring me, Nick. Give the team veto over 4 straight night games. That's what did it. Jay, man, that adds up. That adds up. That is a gauntlet. The difference between a day game and a night game in a college football scenario is night and day. The energy's different. The vibe is different. The intensity's different. The whole feel of the weekend, all of it. And because Notre Dame is Notre Dame, because Notre Dame is Notre Dame, and those other teams were winning, you had a month where you had primetime games all in a row. It's too much. Bro, it's just too much. It is. And I don't know what you do about it because it's a TV product. And when Notre Dame's involved, they want to promote it. And then you ended up with these showcases where unexpectedly Duke's undefeated and knocks off Clemson. Louisville's undefeated. And then you add in the Notre Dame gold helmet. And they all got flexed into primetime, bro. It's a gauntlet, man. It's throwing everything off, your timing of everything, and it's 4 weeks in a row. This is going to sound like really wussy or weak or whatever. I'm telling you, doing the media stuff I do, the content, it was a grind. When you have games that aren't getting over till 10:30 or 11, then you do a 2-hour call-in show. Then you write an article. Then you record another show to post in the morning about it. It's about 3 to 4 in the morning when you're done with all that stuff. By the time you're done working for that game that got over 11 at night, it's about 3 in the morning. Nick lives that life, editing all night. That's just how it goes. When it's a night game, it all gets pushed back. And I got the 2-hour call-in show. So the first 2 hours are done till midnight or 1, whatever. So when you do that, it's just a freaking grind, man. And so it was a combination of a bunch of these circumstances. The Louisville, all 3 of these losses gall me in their own way, in their own feel. All 3 of them are so specific to me. Ohio State, you had to make one of 20 different decisions and not even win the play, but just do something different and you win the game, and you didn't. Literally, there were like 12 different plays and or decisions where you didn't even have to win the play. You just had to make one different decision. They all went against us and you lost. That game was the one you had to have and you handed it away. Also, in retrospect, I am more mad about that game now than I was when it ended because I have less respect for Ryan Day now than I did in that moment. Ryan Day showed me he ain't got that dog in him. Ryan Day's he ain't no killer. Urban Meyer is an alpha killer. He walks in the door and he's an alpha wolf killer. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Ryan Day, he ain't that guy. He's trying to be that guy, but he ain't that guy. He's trying to talk like that guy, but he ain't that guy. He's trying to purport that he's that guy, but he ain't that guy. He's just not. So the Ohio State one makes me mad because you really had a chance to change the Notre Dame big game narrative. And finally, all the circumstances were with you instead of against you. You got them at home. You got them where they have the less experienced quarterback and you have a more experienced quarterback. You had all that shit and you blew it anyways. So that's standalone in its own problem. Notre Dame getting over the big game hump they never seem to get over. Louisville, this is how I've been saying Louisville. There was a Super Bowl played there, but only one team got the invite in the mail. That is exactly how I would describe that moment. There was a Super Bowl being played in Louisville, but only one team got invited to the show. And it wasn't us. Not interested. Goolsby swears the staff thought they were going to kick the shit out of Louisville. Goolsby swears by this on the Patreon anytime Louisville comes up. From the post-game press conferences where Freeman was asked about rotating the O-line and doing some of that, saying we pre-planned on doing that during the week, that informed Goolsby. He's saying the only way you pre-planned to be rotating O-linemen in the first half is if you thought you were going to kill them and it wouldn't matter. So he's taking that evidence and saying Notre Dame staff thought they were going to roll over these guys and they found out wrong. And it was too late. So that's a coaching preparation, not having the right feel for the moment deal. And then Clemson. Again, its own unique story to tell, its own tale. Clemson was bleeding out, dying on the ground, breathing their last gasps of breath on earth. The coach was coming unraveled, yelling at Tyler from Spartanburg, who's could be an always Irish caller. Could be an always Irish caller. He's yelling at that guy before the game who's just a random fan in Carolina somewhere. Clemson was begging to be put down and out in their misery, just die. And Notre Dame revived the whole Dabo thing. The whole thing, like Jesus made us win. And if you're going to buy stock, buy Clemson now. We're on the way back up, baby. And I told you, and this is for the non-believers. And you had a chance to stab a dagger through that program, and you didn't. You let him resurrect the whole thing. Again, it was a moment where you did not appear to be interested in playing. And I don't get it. You looked how they looked at your house last year, the year before. I guess if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. But I enjoyed that when I was in the stands for the Notre Dame Clemson game the year before. And I'm going, these guys didn't even look like they want to be here. 1 year later, we go down there, look like we didn't want to be there. I don't know why. It was a beautiful fall day. Not interested. Not interested. How does a whole football team with things to play for show up for game and it doesn't look like they're interested? How in the hell does that happen? Why in the hell does that happen? I don't know, but it's Freeman's job to figure it out, bro. You got to figure that shit out. It all needs to be bye-bye. It all needs to be done. What else do we got? I like your chats today. You guys have good chats. Beetlejuice. I do think that Denbrock is worth 2 TDs per game versus same type of defenses we struggle with in 23. Moving forward, especially with Mitchell Collins in the fold at wide receiver in 24. 2 TDs a game that's a lot. Like if you look at it statistically, that's a lot. Like if you extrapolate that over the course of a season or whatever, like that's a lot. That's a big jump. That's a big jump. I am unsure. Here's the other thing I've been thinking about. I would gladly lower the points per game overall, 39.5, whatever it was. I would gladly trade off lowering that amount, but adding 6 or 7 onto the average when we play any team from Earth that has real talent or real coaching. Like, do you get what I'm saying? I would give up an overall lower average. It does not do anything to me to pile 50-something points on Navy when you, like, I don't care. This is Notre Dame. The bar is not what you do against Central Michigan and Navy and Wake and whatever. No. So I would give up having less overall average, but we're more focused on getting a better output in the biggest games of the year, but it results in a lower average. I don't know. I'm not here for all those extra fancy points. Don't mean anything when you're going to lose 3 games. They just don't. Chesty McChester. Interesting name. You related to Chester Cheeto? I would say our O-line's starting to look stronger, but we've had some issues with the strength. I think Freeman's trying to address that. You got an issue. Let me ask this. This is a serious ass question for you Notre Dame people. You got to explain this to me. Oh, we're Notre Dame, O-line you, O-line you, oh, we're tough. We put these guys in the NFL. Never mind that they always play terrible together as a unit at Notre Dame in the biggest moments. Can't push anybody or move anybody. Never mind about that. We're O-line you. It doesn't matter that we never play good as a group in the biggest game. We're O-line you because individuals go to the league. Fine. How does Notre Dame end up starting offensive linemen that are just undersized? Why do I got a guy up the middle that's like 280, 285 on Notre Dame's offensive line? And when you play a real team, he just gets bull pushed back into the quarterback and has no leverage and no chance to have leverage. Am I being a jerk? I'm genuinely asking, O-line you. How in hell do I end up with somebody 35 pounds undersized trying to hold up the point of attack and getting bull rushed against every good defense that has a good defensive front and a nose or anybody pushing? Why are we in that situation if you're O-line you or you even have a thought that you could be O-line you? Why am I in a position where undersized guys are starting on O-line in Notre Dame? If you're O-line you, that should never happen. Sorry, never. Like, are you going to tell me I'm a jerk for saying that? If you tout yourself O-line you should not have guys starting that are 285 in the middle of your offensive line getting bull rushed every week against a good team. That's not O-line you. So that's a problem to me. Now, you have a lot of younger guys that I think are more athletic, naturally gifted than the group we just saw come through. The question's going to be, how do they develop? And how long does that take? Like Jagasaw, Billy Boy, like I don't know, Emil Wagner. How long does it take these guys to really get it cranked up? Because when they get it cranked up, I think you're going to like it because they're a more athletically gifted on their feet group. But I can't have Notre Dame offensive linemen starting that are 285. Like, no, that's not it. You can't do that. You're not big enough. You're just not good. And it's big enough to hold up against Tennessee State, and it's big enough to hold up against Wake, and it's big enough to end up against Stanford, whatever. Bro, that's not where I'm measuring this. You collapsed up the middle against Duke the entire night because of this issue. Why is Notre Dame starting guys that are undersized? This is not U of I. This is not Northwestern. I don't understand. Why is that happening? And more importantly, can it not again, please? 285. I realize it's 2.5 of me, but it ain't big enough for what I need. Unbelievable. Chief Keef. BK also walked into a much worse situation than Freeman. I know there were holes on the roster. It was still filled with 4-star players, which was more than enough to beat Marshall and Stanford at home. I mean, Chief, I get the feeling this was connected to a larger discussion. I agree with this to levels. Number one is Kelly certainly inherited a much worse situation than Freeman did as far as infrastructure, where the program was at overall, practical needs a college football team needs to get modern and all that. They were behind in a lot of stuff. And Kelly did do when Kelly was still bought in and had the energy and thought he could get things done in Notre Dame early. He got a lot of wheels spinning on modern things like the training table, redoing the food thing. All that bullshit behind the scenes gets no glory, but it's the dirty work you got to do to build the foundation. Kelly did a lot of that pushing early on in his tenure, and he deserves credit for that. Notre Dame was in a bad spot. Kelly built up a lot of that infrastructure, got some of that going, and he definitely deserves credit for that. So there's no doubt to me, Kelly inherited a worse situation than Freeman inherited from Kelly. However, the biggest lie of the Freeman era to me so far is the lie that people said Freeman inherited a playoff level team and then burned it down. That is the biggest lie of the beginning part of the Freeman era by far. It is the number one trope I've heard from some of our fans and others that don't like Notre Dame, was that Freeman inherited a playoff roster and then failed it or whatever. That makes no sense. By any measure, it makes no sense. But I hear it all the time from our own fans that want to knock Freeman and from opposing fans. What is that based on? They didn't make the playoff the year before. So factually, you're wrong right away. Inheriting a playoff team means they made the playoff last time. They didn't do that. And why didn't they do that? Because Kelly couldn't beat the toughest team they play, Cincinnati at home. That cannot be the game you lose when you have a easy schedule by Notre Dame standards, and that's the toughest game of the year, and you have them at home and you can't win it. What a joke. What a joke. No. So that concept's horrible. Then if you're going to accept, okay, John, technically they didn't make the playoff the year before, so you can't say you inherited a playoff team. But it was a pretty good team, at least 11-1. I will say to you, yes, accurate, correct. However, all of the key pieces that made that team 11-1 weren't there the next year, dummies. That's the other part of this that makes no logical sense. Why would you act like that 11-1 team, all the pieces that made them 11-1 were coming back for Freeman's first year? On a baseline, you are going to have automatically a new inexperienced quarterback. Right away, red flag goes up. Don't know what you're going to get. Cross your fingers and pray for the damn best. So I've never understood this. Yes, Freeman inherited a more ready product than Kelly did. That's 100% true. But to take it the extent of Freeman inherited a playoff roster and killed it, no! I ain't letting you do it. There's Nothing you could show me that indicates that's accurate, but I still get those tweets. LSU people send me those tweets every day. It makes no sense. Makes no sense. Your best case scenario, Freeman year one, was praying that a new starting quarterback developed quicker than you thought and it all worked out. That is not a plan, man. That is how we rolled into it, and that ain't no plan. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, Louisville snorted so much cocaine before that game. Tony, give me the yayo, man. Don't even talk to me, man. Every time Coke comes up, I just start thinking of Scarface. Don't even talk to me, man. I got better shit to do. It was night and day. It was night and day. When you play teams, matters so much more in college football than I'd argue any other sport. When you play a team, matters so damn much. Momentum, energy, fan base feel, just weather, any of it. When you play a team has so much to do with the vibe of the game and how it all interplays in college football. And Louisville was a nightmare. It was a nightmare waiting to happen. I'm telling you this. Even like the playoff years Notre Dame had, I don't remember a build-up like that on social media. Like, it was not a red flag. The whole neighborhood was on fire. Like, everyone around Notre Dame should have known this is going to be bad. Not bad like you're going to lose, but just like this is going to be intense. Like off the Richter scale, loud, drunk factor, off the charts, all of that. You had it all, and it wasn't a surprise. It wasn't a surprise. This was not, we think this is sleepy Louisville. We show up and we're surprised that it's loud. No. If you were paying attention, you knew what we were walking into, and Notre Dame was not prepared. They were not prepared. They were not prepared emotionally for the moment. They were not prepared physically for the moment. Nobody stepped up to stop it. And it's unacceptable and it's unfortunate. I would like to ask, where was the player leadership? Like, who was the real outspoken player leadership on this last team? Where was it? The guys going, you know what? We're getting our asses beat against Louisville here. We maybe need to wake up. Where was that leadership? It was a really good team, and you had good guys on it. I am just not sure this team had the leadership in the way that I needed to make me feel fine about it. I don't know what I'm trying to say other than like, where was the players stepping up to be like, no, this ain't going to happen. And I'm going to tell the rest of the guys it ain't going to happen. And I'm going to go out there and physically make plays to make sure it doesn't happen. Where was that leadership against Clemson? Where was that leadership against Louisville? I don't know. It's just, that is, the leadership piece has to be addressed. It just does. I'm talking about early ND, BK. Sorry, you were talking about BK at LSU. No, I just covered it early. I don't know. Maybe you're not talking to me. I just covered early BK. That program was in a lot of trouble, you guys. Like, I do give Kelly credit for the work earlier in the tenure because he didn't hate us yet. He didn't hate Notre Dame yet. He didn't hate the fan base yet. He didn't resent all of us yet. That was when Kelly was, red-faced Kelly and had all the energy in the world to yell and try and get shit done. So I don't know. Holt's my beer. What made it even worse is Louisville fans talked so much crap and we lost. Validated them and what they were saying about us. Holt's my beer. 100% accurate. 100% Holtz. 100. And my question to you is, how does that change? Better preparation during the week, better leadership from the players, better players overall. The coaches, here's the other part. A big part about being a good coach. You always got to have a feel on the pulse and the dial of your team emotionally. You need to know where that needle is. You need to have a feel. You need to have the pulse of the heartbeat of your team to know during the week as you're getting into your practice stuff. You need to be able to feel where you're at, and you need to have an accurate feel. Whether it's, oh boy, I don't know, but we're ready to go this week. We got extra juice in practice. Guys are ready to go. Like, you know that feeling when your team is confident and ready and well prepared and emotionally meeting the moment. You know what that looks like and feels like if you've been around competitive football enough. When they're locked in, they're dialed in, you know where that level is. Verse, I don't like the way we're practicing. There is a lack of focus. There's a lack of intensity. Guys are kind of dogging it a little bit. We're not getting 110% out of all these drills. It looks like guys are kind of taking this week for granted. You got to have a feel for the deal, and you got to know that it's real. You got to have an accurate pull. And nobody was probably better at that than Lou. Nobody was probably better at that than Lou. The way he could monitor the team and break them down and build them up and break them down and build them up again. And not even Lou took it to the next level. Not only just the entire team as a group, individual players. Lou knew, here's how I get the most out of this guy. It's by breaking him down and then building him up. And then he'd go to another guy and just build him up. Like, he knew what buttons to push. This all needs to start changing. Tighten up. Tighten up. And I need Marcus to take a deep, deep look, especially at Louisville and Clemson. A deep look of what went wrong and why our team did not look as excited to play the game as the other team. That's offensive and it's unacceptable. And you could say, John, that's mean. Of course they wanted to play. It didn't look like it. In both of those games, the other team literally looked like they were trying harder than we were. It's not okay, man. It's not okay. And we're going into year 3. Ain't nobody going to have the flexibility. Ain't nobody here for that. Are you out of your mind? Like, that's all over. The leeway, the grace, the Marcus 10-man, it's all over. Does everybody know that? It's all over. All those, the niceties and the grace and the tiptoeing around he's new and all that, man. I think year 3, people are expecting it to be rounded into form. Rounded into form. Phil, I was in Dublin and enjoyed the hell out of it, but I 100% agree with you, Jen. Oh my God. I couldn't imagine. You know how much fun I had when Jay Lehman and Dr. John, a bunch of people from our little circle here were in Dublin, and they're like trying to meet up. And it's just like, it's a really cool concept. It's just, I needed the buy in there somewhere. If you could give me Dublin, but then put that first buy not in November, I'm with you. Do it all you want. But I'm not running an 8-week gauntlet against all the good teams we play before I have a bye. You're screwing yourself. It's just a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Justin Alexander. Marcus Freeman has improved the QB recruiting so much that it's going to be the difference. Minchie, Carr, Knight, better than anything Kelly recruited. We had Drew effing Pine starting. Justin, terrific thought. Terrific thought. Night and day. Deuce, night and day. Ooh, see what I did there? It really is night and day. I went over this in one of the shows recently. Brian Kelly's issue with quarterbacks is he was too late to build the initial relationship with the great ones. Meaning, all these SEC schools and Ohio State and whatever, the kid's a sophomore and they're showing up at his basketball games, not even football, to show we're pursuing you, we love you, we want you, let's build that relationship for years when the kid's young. Kelly didn't want to do that. Kelly figured, I don't know if he's going to be a grades fit or if he's really that interested. Let's wait another year and a half or whatever, see what his test scores are. Maybe we'll circle back. By the time Kelly went and circled back, it was too late. You don't get to go, hey, we're Notre Dame and we love you. And the kids were going, yeah, so did Tennessee and Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State, and they loved me a year and a half before you did. Where'd you come from? Why'd you come out of the woodwork now? All those teams loved me for 2 years before you ever called. That shit matters. It matters. And Brian Kelly was too late to the table and never even had a chance to get in the race. Also, I understand that like Tommy Rees is a lightning point, good, bad, love, hate, wanted ND, don't want an ND, future Notre Dame coach, keep him away. There's a big divide with Tommy Rees. Anybody who looks at Drew Pine and is like, yeah, could be Notre Dame starting quarterback, I'm questioning you. There is nothing in that guy's skill set at any point that would make me say, yeah, that could be Notre Dame's sustainable high-level starting quarterback. Never in a million years. Never in a million years. So, like, right there, whoever was involved with that, just no. Nope. If you're that size, you either have to have a howitzer for an arm or you need to be Michael Vick, or I'm not interested. It's that simple, you guys. It's really, literally that simple. If you're going to be Drew Pine's physical attributes, his size and height and weight, you need to have a rocket cannon for an arm, doesn't have, or Michael Vick's speed in being elusive, doesn't have that either. You don't, then there's no Notre Dame here for you. Whoever was in charge of that one, thanks, but no thanks. Sorry. The level of these quarterbacks is way, way higher than what we're used to. Michigan 2019. Oh, I had a breakdown that night. Miami 17, Michigan 19, and Ohio State this year are the three nights. They're the three worst nights I've had recording or doing content for this show. Those are the three. Yeah. Miami 17, Michigan 19, Ohio State this year. Those were the three that literally almost jump-started heart attacks. Oh, literally. And here's the other thing I want to mention. Caleb Downs is in the portal, and I have not heard anything linking Notre Dame to him or even having interest. I've been looking at that too. I just have not seen anybody even mention Notre Dame's name. So I don't know. And here's the other thing. When I'm talking about getting up for these games, I understand I'm asking a lot because Notre Dame is going to get everybody's best shot. So you're going to be the one or two biggest games on everybody's schedule. If they have a rival, they have a rival, and then you're number two, right? I understand I cannot expect Notre Dame's players to look at playing Louisville the same way Louisville looks at playing Notre Dame. Right? Like, Notre Dame doesn't look at playing Pittsburgh the way they look at playing Notre Dame. Like, it's a novelty to play Notre Dame and knock them off. You get a bigger build-up, a bigger boost, more attention. It's a bigger deal. Human nature is real. Notre Dame players got way up for Ohio State. I don't expect them to be able to get the same up for Duke or Louisville or Clemson. But you know what you need to do? You need to be up enough to not lose. That's the answer. You don't need to match their level of everything. You just need to be good enough. You don't lose. Let them play with their hair on fire and everything, and they to beat Notre Dame or whatever, but you're good enough and you're better than them by enough that you can sustain that barrage and win anyways. Are you following me? There's no way Notre Dame's players were going to match the intensity of Louisville when it's their home game and all that, and we were coming off that grind and they were flying. It's unrealistic for me to think our players were going to emotionally match that level. I didn't need them to. It just had to be at a level good enough you didn't lose. You didn't have to crank it to Ohio State level. You just couldn't have it be at a level where you lost the game, where you have more talent. And that's what you did. Horrible. Horrible. Bad. John, I think by bringing Denbrock in, we fix a lot of the issues related to the losses this year. Parker was that bad. I think it's a big deal. I just think it's a big deal. The game planning, the experience to know what to do when, what not to do when, how to sucker a team, how to bait a team, how to build something up that you're doing repeatedly, and then you bring it out again, and the fourth or fifth time, everything looks the same except one thing's different, and you catch them. All of it. Having an intrinsic feel of when to speed up some tempo, when to slow it down, when to rein it in. Gino Guidugli was already the one building out all of the scripted plays, and the end of half, end of game, like the 2-minute stuff was Gino. That was too much for Parker to do. And again, I'm not blaming Parker. He got that job opportunity through unnatural, weird things that happen anyways, and he was doing the best he could. It just wasn't near good enough. Wasn't near good enough. Yeah. Who wants it more? I struggle with that, man. Like, I can't say Louisville wanted it more than Notre Dame that night. But the way the game played out, it sure as hell looked like Louisville wanted it more than Notre Dame that night. The other thing is, it's like, how do I account for the physical grind? Maybe they wanted it and their emotional tank was on empty and physically they were all beat up and they just couldn't get up for that game or whatever. Well, that just sucks then. Like, I don't know what to tell you. That just sucks then. Yeah, I think a huge prop should be sent to Freeman for how they bounced back a week later against Southern Cal. Yeah. The problem is, again, though, Nick, you get less credit for wins the less that's on the line when you're playing for the win. Does that make sense? Like, you get less credit for the USC win because you lost the Louisville game. You were out of the playoff chase. So you do, like, I do look at it that way. You get more credit for doing things when more is on the line. Once you're out of national contention, you get less credit for whatever happens. I'm sorry. I hate it. Huge win, though. Huge win, though, over the Chicago Bears' next starting quarterback. Huge win. Adam, hand the ball off to estimate 3 times and beat Ohio State. The entire energy of this season would have been different 100%. I'm telling you, I don't care what else. The Duke game looks and feels and is played differently if we win against Ohio State. The Louisville game looks, played, and would be played and would feel way different if you beat Ohio. Everything changes. Everything changes. Your emotional tank that was on empty, it would be on full with excitement. The physical, after playing Ohio State and you're beat up and all that, it's a lot easier to get up out of bed or into the weight room or whatever after you get a win we haven't seen in 30 years. Nope. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. John, you, Johnny, are inflicted with Michigan derangement syndrome. Why you still cannot let it go is scary. Take a vacation, a break. I can't let it go. I never let it go. It's the one that listen, Jack, I'll explain this to you. When Notre Dame doesn't win the championship, it's a failed year. That has been every single year my memory functions as a Notre Dame fan. I was too alive, but too young to remember us winning anything good. So what that means is every single year of my football existence ends in failure. That is my milieu. That is what I'm used to living with and being miserable with. Every single year following Notre Dame has been a failure that I can remember. One of my crutches, one of my emotional crutches I use to feel better about that failure has always been, well, at least if Notre Dame didn't win, neither did Michigan, neither did Kelly at LSU, neither does USC. Those ancillary parts of this are what I use to soften the blow. I would say if we're not going to have this joy, at least none of these other people and groups I hate are having it either. For my entire life, that's pretty much gotten me by in one piece. Now that's gone. Now that's gone. Now Johnny Boy is confronting an entirely new reality, one I've never really had to before, and I'm struggling with it. I am being absolutely as truthful as I can with you. At least I always had, Notre Dame failed, but so did they. I'm not happy, at least neither are they. I'm miserable, so are they too. I always had that. Now I don't. Now I don't. And it bothers me. It just does. I have no respect for their media, no respect for their fan base in mass at all. There's no less deserving group of people that have football joy than these people. And the fact that they're getting it all, I can't make it make sense. They just don't treat people the right way. They don't operate the right way, the media and the fans. For them to be rewarded like this is appalling. It makes me question if there's any real justice in the world. It's not right. Why you still cannot let it go is scary. It's only been a damn week. This ain't going away in a week. I got news for you. It's an existential problem. It ain't a 1 week fix. And I don't care if the NCAA comes back in a year and says, you cheated, we're vacating it. No, it doesn't matter now. They got the one on the field they're going to live with forever. It's ruined. The whole thing's ruined. Doesn't matter if they vacate. Everybody saw him winning on the field, just like Reggie winning the Heisman on the field. It's all ruined. It's all ruined. So there is no way for me to make this right until Notre Dame wins one in the modern era to balance it out. And then I'll be mad they got theirs first. That's the way it is with me and these people. I have no respect for them. None. The media part's really, that's a bad look. What I've seen them do, straight up lies, straight up making up stories, straight up lying about recruiting, literally lying about recruiting to make Michigan look better and Notre Dame look bad. Like, they're classless. They're a classless group of trashy people. To see them rewarded in this way is just wrong. It's just wrong. let it go. Oh, you can't let it go this long. And it's been a freaking week. That ain't long. We finally got our conditioning coach. Landau's been announced for like over a month. However, it's a big job he's got. It's a big job he's got. My understanding is that Freeman wanted to get a little more modern. He's getting into more of the analytics, more of the medical advancements with fine-tuning your body and with nutrition and with this and that and all the new age technology with the training and all that. That's kind of where Freeman wants to get into all the biometric stuff, all the modern new age stuff. That's fine. But as you all know, I always say there's two engines that drive a program: recruiting, strength, and conditioning. If you don't have both of those in a good place, you're not winning anything. Both of them, not one, both. Those are the backbone of your program. A solid recruiting operation and your strength and conditioning training table stuff. You got to have all that good, or don't worry about winning nothing. This is very interesting. Michigan O-line U. There may or may not be a little video coming up on Patreon addressing that. Very interesting you bring that up. And I don't think Notre Dame fans are going to like my video, but truths need to be spoken. What about Harry Big Game East End? Bro, I understand how many guys he put in the league that are great. Guys in the league that are like Hall of Fame level O-linemen. I get it all. But when we played the biggest games, we'd run the ball for like 40 yards. I just can't. You're not allowed to say you're the best at something when you fail in the biggest moments of doing it. I can't make that make sense, man. I just can't. I just can't do it. It bothers me. Jay says, I was a fan of BK and what he did for Notre Dame. He hit a ceiling somewhere along the way. I'm a bigger fan of Freeman. Exponential growth shows his ceilings higher. Kelly did a lot of good things for Notre Dame. Early on, Kelly did. He had to change a lot. There was a lot of infrastructure. And he did dig him out from being really bad to being respectable. All that I agree with. Hitting the ceiling was the problem, because the problem was we were at that ceiling way too many years before anybody did anything about it. That's the problem. But yeah, Kelly did a lot of really good, tough, dirty work in the beginning. And he had that energy, and he was bright-eyed and excited about taking on the Notre Dame challenge. At some point, that went bye-bye. And it was obvious to see. So I don't know. This is interesting, Jason. There was a change in Freeman's demeanor. He seemed so disappointed, even when we were blasting teams like Pitt. He knew it was a wasted opportunity. I think he was frustrated with Hartman. I think there was a lot of people frustrated with Hartman for a lot of reasons. I just think everybody wanted a little more out of it. That's all. I think everybody wanted a little more. Beetlejuice. John gets a mental health pass. These damn Fighting Irish have been making him half crazy for 35 years now. Thank you very much. You guys do need to, I am asking you to realize from beginning of August through Notre Dame's last game of the year, there are no days off when you do this. There is not one day in that window from camp starting in August till like late December, wherever the bowl game is, where I'm not doing something for Always Irish work. Like, it does consume you. There's something to do every single day. The weekends, time to relax. No, that's the busiest time is the weekends. And then it's always something. So, dude, it is like wrapped around my brain. There's no escaping it every day. I do lose my mind sometimes. There is no doubt about that. Justin, Freeman's going to have to figure out the road issues because it makes no sense. Goolsby keeps telling me, John, you are underestimating. These guys are just physically tired from flying and doing all that. And I'm like, how could this be? You're in modern luxury. You're not flying in Newt Rockney's wooden rickety-ass plane. You're flying charter, luxury, whatever. And he's like, you're taking for granted. Time changes, flying, getting into a new place to sleep and everything. He goes, it throws you off. So he swears there's more of that stuff involved. And then I say, fine. But I see teams go on the road all the time and they come and they're not sleepwalking. So why did the other teams, are they not tired and you're tired? I don't get it. Like, come on. So that part bothers me. But that is maybe number one thing that, like, I need Freeman to look at and take care of. It isn't just the games you lost on the road. The games we won on the road, we were sleepwalking. Stanford sleptwalked the first half. Remember? Clemson, not interested in playing. Don't understand why. Louisville, double not interested in playing. Duke almost lost it. Probably could say got lucky to win it. NC State, slow start in the rain. Maybe you could blame the weather, whatever. That's not random. That's a trend. That's not random. That's a trend. Notre Dame did not play good on the road, and I hate it. You got to fix it. Hate it, you got to fix it. Can't be. Not okay. It's just not okay. All right, everybody, that's going to be it. These shows are weird when we're in this time frame and we're in this area. The Ohio State one was different, though. That was not, we're not ready to play. We don't want to be here. Jay Frost. That's why I'm not mentioning that. That was a different problem. We were ready for the moment. We were engaged in that one. We were ready to play. We matched their emotion. That's not what lost the Ohio State game. That's why I didn't mention it. That was a very, very different loss in how it occurred than the other two. We were ready for that one, just not ready to claim that moment. Totally different to me. But what I was going to say is weird time of the year here. We have a drop-off in interest in college football in general. Some people take their break and then crank back up for spring. We're going to be here talking about whatever. Thank you for being here. Thank you for chatting. Thank you for donates, the calls. Everybody have a good day. Stay warm.